Scattered throughout Hyrule are shrines not unlike the ones we complete on the Great Sky Island in Tears of the Kingdom and on the Great Plateau in Breath of the Wild. From puzzles to problem solving to combat training, these shrines are like isolated training grounds, and they're filled with opportunities to challenge and sharpen Link's physical and mental skills. Players of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom know that very few things are actually necessary in these games, which means that the majority of the quests, opportunities, or even items are entirely optional. And this includes the shrines. So if that's the case, why in the world should we bother with them? Well, friends, The Legend of Zelda knew you were going to ask that, and rest assured, they have a bunch of reasons why you should, and not just because you're a completionist who won't stop until you see that lovely 100%. What's up, everyone? My name's Athena, and alongside my friend Bandit over at Bandit Games, I wrote and co-created a book called A Link to Success, and I'm here to talk about yet another life-changing lesson we can learn from The Legend of Zelda. In this video, we're going to talk about shrines and what exactly they teach us about the benefits of doing optional work. Mr. A-Game did an incredibly impressive run of Breath of the Wild, where he basically went directly from the Great Plateau to Ganon. Now this means that because he didn't do any of the optional shrines, he only had 4 hearts and no extra stamina. Well, not only did he beat Ganon, but he also beat the 4 Blights. I need to also stress that the shrines weren't the only things that A-Game didn't benefit from in his run. It was also the Trial of the Sword, which means the Master Sword wasn't at its most powerful. Now, if you've got the time, you should definitely check it out. I'll link it in the description below. Runs like this further prove that even though the benefits of the shrines and other optional quests are unmistakable, they just aren't necessary. So if that's the case, what exactly is the value of overcoming a challenge when it's entirely possible to accomplish the main quest without any of that challenge's rewards? Alan Watts has this beautiful quote that I love, and he says, "In music, one doesn't make the end of the composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest, and there would be composers who wrote only finales. People would go to concerts just to hear one crashing chord, because that's the end." I've always loved this quote, not just because it makes sense, but also because it's kind of absurd when you think about it. Now, whether you're listening to Bach, Snoop, or Taylor, you know that it's never about the ending of the song. Or rather, it's never just about the ending. It's the story that leads up to the ending. It's about all the parts of the song that come together over time that make the ending more meaningful and satisfying. Now, the same thing can be said about our journeys. I want you to think back to a time that you accomplished something great. It was challenging to you. Was there ever something that you did to prepare for that challenge that might not have been necessary but definitely paid off? Part of that satisfaction comes from the time that we've invested listening to something, doing something, observing something. And the great part is that those imperfections, or for us, maybe times that we failed, they add to that journey. That's why some of the best teachers may have started off as people that faced great challenges or maybe even failed along the way. Because the more they practiced, the more they learned, and then the more they gained. Now, whether it's experience or tips and tricks, the more they gained, the more things that were once difficult are now getting easier and easier. And the challenges that they're now going after are more elevated. The same can be said about the shrines and what they offer. While none of the gains or the boons from the shrines are necessary, they make the overall journey easier. Let's take the climbing set as an example. Unlike in Tears of the Kingdom, where you can find the climbing set because it's been hidden away by the legendary bandit, in Breath of the Wild, the only way you can get that climbing set is by completing 3 separate shrines where you'll find the 3 pieces of armor. So naturally, if you don't complete those 3 shrines, you aren't getting the climbing set. Now, even though it's not necessary or even needed to complete the game, it does, however, make it extremely beneficial to have it, since it not only increases Link's climbing speed, but also decreases the stamina used while climbing. When we complete a shrine, we are rewarded with either a spirit orb or a light of blessing, depending on which game we're playing. Both operate the same way. Trade in 4 at a goddess statue, and you'll get either more stamina or more hearts. This allows for more actions to be completed for much longer, and for more hits to be taken without the need for constant eating or drinking potions. Now, both examples show us that even though they are optional, shrines pay off in dividends by making the overall journey much easier. And especially if we commit to completing more than one shrine, that's when the lessons really set in. Think of it this way. Working out, for example, isn't necessary to living a healthy life. However, it definitely contributes to it, and also makes other aspects of our lives much easier. But the real benefit of working out comes not just from doing one workout, but consistent workouts over time. This is what is commonly referred to as the compound effect. Basically, if you take small actions towards your goals consistently over time, you'll see exponential growth and a lot more results. We actually see this in video games in general. The more we engage in optional trials, side quests, and in this case, the shrines, the more we'll see exponential growth in our skills across the entire game. Now, if you've ever won a game or a contest or anything like that, you know that the win feels pretty sweet. But if you have ever trained or done extra preparing that you didn't really have to do but you wanted to, you'll know that that win feels much better because of the work that you put in. And yes, that even includes the failures. What makes any Zelda game so special isn't just beating Ganon or Demise or any of the other bosses. It's the fact that you beat them after everything you've gone through alongside Link. Apart from the fact that it's an objectively profound and amazing quote, when Zelda says, "Courage need not be remembered, for it is never forgotten," it feels so powerful to us because of everything we've put into this journey so far. It's the same thing that can be said about games like Ocarina of Time. When we get to the ending, we feel so heavy-hearted because we have done everything alongside Link. And if you've played Ocarina of Time, you'll know exactly why the story of the hero's shade is so emotional in Twilight Princess. These are all reminders that we walked the path and fought the fight with Link. It makes us better as much as it makes him better. And it makes us want to challenge ourselves in different ways, just like he wants to in-game. Now, when I was facing off Ganon in Tears of the Kingdom, I was so excited and nervous that my brain decided to momentarily forget how to flurry. I'm not kidding you. I literally had a quarter of a heart left with no buffs, no food, nothing. My brain just said, yep, we're going to forget this thing that we've done for years. Something clicked all of a sudden, and I locked in. Now, when we beat Ganon in that stage and got out into the light, Samantha and I were jumping up and down and screaming. This, of course, made the actual ending incredible to us. Completing optional quests make the story richer. The big picture benefits from those little side quests of ours, if it's all coming together to make us better. Mr. A-Game got to where he got to probably because at one point, he did do all the optional quests and complete all the optional shrines. He got so good that doing this specific run was a way to still challenge himself. And really, if you think about it, beating Ganon straight from the Great Plateau itself was optional in and of itself. And because he did it, he got even better than he already was. So in your journey, if there is ever an optional opportunity for you to get better, you should consider doing it. Sure, you may not get cool clothes that somehow make you climb faster, but the lessons you learn will undoubtedly be invaluable. What optional things do you engage in to make yourself better? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for checking this video out. If you want to learn more about what the different games in The Legend of Zelda teach us about success, please consider checking out our book, A Link to Success, at alinktosuccess.com. Thank you all, and remember, may the light illuminate your path.